Are you ready? One.
I'm LIANE. I'm LIANE. Are you ready to ride the frequency? Well, hello, everybody. Hold on a second. I have to be professional. Yeah. Lights. We like those. We like lights. Let's adjust the height. Lights and the height of my, All right. How's everybody doing out there? I have no idea if this is working. Grizzly's packing. I said Grizzly packing. No, I didn't. He's packing. They're moving. That's stressful. So I figured I'd try to do this all by myself, Daddy. That's what Jacqueline used to say to my husband, Tim. I'm doing it all by myself. I'll try it. No blue. She used to say that too, but we have no idea what that meant. No blue. And then she would point. Maybe she was seeing our team. Blue beings. You never know. Well, so interestingly enough, recently the audio book Spider Seeds came out on Audible. And I had done an interview with the author, David, back in February 17th or something. And I held the interview till today or tonight when it comes out at midnight, a little later, a little pre-recorded. Cha, 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 cha. Anyway, that's a little later. We were going to do a podcast yesterday on some radio show or something, but their computer blew up. I have a couple solar flares. See what happens to your computer. Glad it didn't happen to my computer, because otherwise I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, I'd be here anyway, but I wouldn't be here technologically with you. All right, so I think I'm just going to let David on because I'm getting silly. Might as well add to the silliness, yeah? Welcome, David. Welcome to Riding the Frequency. How are you doing today?
Hey, Lee. How are you? I'm doing well. When are you not being weird? That's a good thing. And that's a good thing.
Did you hear that on YouTube? Is there a stream going that you heard what I just said? How did you hear that? It's magic. Uh-oh, there are comments. Uh-oh. Oh, hi, Roger. Okay, that's how it works. Hi, there are my comments. Hi, welcome, everyone. Exclamation points. Lots of them. Here we go. Push the arrow. You can do it. Yes. Hi. I guess that means it's working. How exciting. Glad anybody came back after last week's depravity. I tried to sing the song live, and then I got so annoyed with myself that I had to post it. You saw. Anyway, don't you love how I invited you on screen so I could continue talking about myself? Take a breath, LIANE. Welcome to Riding the Frequency, David. How are you? I don't know if that's better or worse.
I'm well. I have had a very productively unproductive weekend.
Well, we did have that fabulous false start on the podcast. What was it? Was it a radio show? Was it a pod? What were we supposed to do?
Yeah, it was a podcast, and it just turns out that there was some sort of technical issue, and so it had to be rescheduled. So I'll just wait till we hear back from them about that. Yeah.
Well, hello. Look, people are actually coming in. I like it. Hi, Rakim. What's up?
Hey, Jay, Rakim.
Right?
How you doing, buddy?
Rakim just popped a question to a pretty lady.
I saw that, and congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. So, I love how we were having this really fluid conversation that was kind of cool before we started.
Yeah.
And you're better at remembering what I said than I am. Because that's before and I just let it go.
Yeah. We were talking about the difference between being a writer and having that sort of, you can be outside of the story and be the puppet master of everything.
Right. But that goes back to the other conversation that I'm always having, like Eckhart Tolle, I want to kill myself. What do you mean I want to kill myself? Myself. Wait, does that mean there are two? And then he got so distracted with figuring that out that he forgot suicide and then turned into Eckhart Tolle, the one that we know today. But yeah, so we were discussing ego and physical body and how perhaps we've misconstrued, and instead of thinking egos and our physical bodies are the be all and end all, perhaps we should reconsider a different point of view and maybe use them, but bent toward the higher self, because you can't really hide from yourself. Like, you can't lie to yourself no matter how much you try. Like, you always know what you did or what you said or what you thought, even like in the privacy of your own mind. You cannot hide from yourself.
No, you cannot.
So yeah, that's where it led to being an actor. And I was talking about my last talk with Randy Weitenheimer, how there can't be secrets, if information is non-local and remote viewing is a thing. And if everybody knew how to remote view, says one of my upcoming guests, Tom Dongo. Interview him on Thursday and probably release that kraken over the weekend. Yeah. But yeah, I just completely threw myself off. But it's just it all goes back to consciousness, I think, at the end of the day. And is your ego running your life, or are you controlling your ego? Like, is it a bucking bronco? Is it a stallion that wants to take off galloping to get the next dopamine hit? Or are you even keeled and just happy all the time, as much as you can be within the context of what seems to be going on around you?
I think my ego might be a big grizzly bear just with his paw in a honey pot and just enjoying himself. Catching fish, running down to the lake, catching fish with his teeth, right?
Like, and if people would relate to their energetic selves, like, that's such a beautiful description of like what you are in your imagination, but that's probably your authentic self, right? And then this superimposed, what did you call it, on Jesus as opposed to a Jesus? What did you call it?
Eisegesis versus exegesis.
Right. What he said just now, the one that's imposed, that's like the reality out there. You got to go 9 to 5. You got to have a job. You got to work really hard. You got to be perfect. You got to this, it's like, that's all that has nothing to do with I'm just a big bear with my hand in a honey pot, just like I'm a happy guy. Like that's the authentic self. And then, you know, you go to school and they try to rein all the authentic selves into some conformity. And, you know, people who are wired a certain way become something nonconformist. I'm just going to leave it there because this other lady I spoke to, Rebecca Hardcastle, when I used neurodivergent, she's like, I don't like that word. I said, why? She said, because if you could apply it, everybody's neurodivergent because we're all on a spectrum of wiring unique unto ourselves. So and you know, honestly, she's right, because there is no carbon copy. Never has been, never will be. Trillions of people have been born. Like, right.
But one thought to consider is that 70% of people are extroverts. We live in about 30% of people are introverts. And so the world is sort of built, society is sort of built for extroverts. And introverts, people like myself or like yourself, we end, like, until we understand, you know, our makeup. Like I spent a lot of my time as a young man trying to be an extrovert, but not knowing what I was doing. But then when I learned about the difference between the two, and like, no, I'm actually far on the introvert spectrum, you know, and I need to like understand that about who I am and take care of that. That's when I began to flourish, you know. And you know, flourish creatively and in all sorts of ways, because I was instead trying to fit into a world that wasn't built for the way I made it up. So I kind of don't really have a problem with the term neurodivergent, because it's just like there is like a percentage that's sort of like more, and so somewhat, I guess, the norm, you know. And then there's like, you know, and then there's, you know,
I mean, I'm seeing a pendulum in my mind.
You know, because I find with some people, when you hang out with, like, I find that with extroverts, I find that you know, I don't tend to get along with them unless they're just a nice person, and it's sort of like I felt like they adopted me. You know, it's like
I
this.
feel like that's frequency. That's I mean, that's another word for it, is people that are more like-minded or vibing at a more similar frequency. It's like listening to atonal music when you're with people who just don't get you. I've only had one interview that I can think of where I was horribly uncomfortable the whole way through because the psychology was so different.
Totally different wavelength thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, interesting wavelength. Because if my conclusion, quantum mechanics and consciousness and quantum, it's all interwoven and inseparable, and trying to understand all of it at the same time intellectually is insane. I feel like being satisfied with knowing here something is enough sometimes. If a knowing can inform you in a direction that is fruitful. But I guess, you know, words, it's words, and defining the words and the adjectives. Part of me wishes we were primarily psychic, less verbal.
Then I'd be out of work.
No, because I think there would be people who would like to take the journey into a sentient experience every once in a while, because that would be what a treat. You know, I mean, I suppose I'm describing what some would call a reincarnation, right? Coming back to experience the, you know, but it's not just I'll read a book and hop out. It's I have to do all the other stuff, like learn how to be in a body, live a life, and then go back to home base with all the experiences, like holding my thumb while I'm talking this stuff, what that's about. Do you do that?
Sometimes, yeah.
I used to find myself doing that a lot, especially when I felt like Wallflower Maggie at parties.
So you're one of the cool kids.
I wish that I could be like the cool kids.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Wallflowers are the cool kids, man. They have all the great ideas.
But what's weird is I'm very extroverted. Like when I'm out, when I'm intentionally out, since childhood, I'd get out of my stroller, I'd push the stroller, I would look strangers in the eye. Anybody who made the sad mistake of looking back got a hi. And my grandmother was convinced I'd be abducted. I've said that so many times. You know, it's not the kind of abduction we want, not the kind she was thinking about.
The 80s and the 70s were an interesting time for that.
What, abductions?
Yeah, just like the big
what kind?
the earthbound abductions.
Earthbound ones?
Yeah.
I mean, people still do weird stuff and abduct and whatever. I think there was recently somebody reunited with their families after a long time living with a fake family.
Yeah.
Talk about trauma.
Remember an old movie called I Know My Name is Steven? It's got the guy from Beverly Hills Cop in it. He plays the dad.
One of the rare cases where the kid gets returned even though he doesn't remember.
Yeah.
It happened when he was so young, and the time that went by made him, you know, Stockholm syndrome on steroids right there. I always feel like humanity is kind of like having a Stockholm syndrome event. I mean, you could write about the state of affairs and it would be a pretty good horror topic. It would be a good book for you to write. You wouldn't have to do anything but tell the truth.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful, though. I mean, people are having conversations like this to counteract, you know, so that the pendulum doesn't swing all the way over. We're trying to get it to come back at least this way a little bit. Get it back in the middle. So as a writer, you were telling me when we were talking, we started talking about it, and then I tried to put it in context and then rambled. Off we went. But yeah, as an actor, I was talking about, I think I started saying this, how information is non-local. And there's a book called Power versus Force by a Dr. Hawkins. And it's about kinesiology. And the truth is everywhere. You know? So if people were actually to become less distracted and more introvert, like what he said, it's not such a bad thing because it allows you to go within yourself, which is where you'll probably find more truth in the neutral no place zone. You know, contemplating your belly button is highly underrated in this society. I think it's in conjunction with the education system being a more conformist experience than it is an expansion experience.
Oh, public education is just hammering square pegs into round holes. It's and the round pegs that literally will not get pounded in, just get tossed. You know.
How do you see that? What do you feel it would take to get the pendulum swinging the other way? Like, what would need to happen? I mean, and it would have to happen probably at a top of the pyramid level.
When you ask me that question, I tend to have a more cynical view of humanity. So I don't think I tend to think that the pendulum is not going to swing one way or the other. The cycle will repeat, and there will always be those that are sort of outside the cycle, that are questioning things, that are looking at things, they're seeking alternatives to you know, they'll always be there. And that I mean, we just, if we want to know the way the world will go, we just have to look at the past, I think. And we live in a world where, like, empires conquer, they try to unify other societies under their power structure, and then another empire comes and does the same thing, and then there's always people, but there's always people that don't get caught up in that sway. They think outside the conformist box. They question things, they challenge things, and it's like, well, they'll always be there, and they'll always be there, I guess, to sort of keep the system in check. When I think about it, it's like, when we're young, we're rebellious, right? And and then when we get older, it's not that we join the system. We kick and dent the system a little bit more to make room for ourselves. So, we just, I'm not living in the world that my parents built, right? Like, I'm not living in their world. I'm living in the world I am now. And that's because the people of my generation, like, we didn't exactly change the whole thing, but we kicked a few dents and knocked out a few walls. We made some more room, right? And I think things happen cyclically, and patterns repeat themselves, and that when we and to understand how things will be in the future, the best way is to look at how things went in the past.
Yeah, it's the mini skirt analogy. It keeps coming back. Things keep coming back.
They just keep coming back. Cool. Just think, like, the concept of cool is always around. It just, what is cool changes. If I throw on a doo-wop 50s hairdo and a leather greaser jacket, I'm gonna look like a fool. But I would look like a cool dude back in the 1950s, right?
Yeah, but I guess that just goes to the consensus of the majority is like, who is that, who decides what's cool? And if that's the case, then that just goes back to social engineering. And if somebody understands that, boy, are we gullible and easy to control, like a border collie. Like when you were talking about, we're kicking and denting and making space and trying to keep the world in check and make space for ourselves. Right? It's like a border collie trying to keep the world at large and the way it works in check so that we can navigate and still have oxygen to breathe while we do it.
Yeah.
It's a good way of describing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily think that that's negative. I feel like that's a way of adapting without getting burned.
Like I noticed, like, I'm sure that there's much more smarter people and academically minded people than me that would have probably, been able to express this idea better. But it's but I call it checkerboard thinking. Just, you just take just take a checkerboard, and you have options between the black square or the white square, or the white squares or black squares in between the other one, right? And so it's just, if you look at,
what about the teeny tiny fraction of a space between each square? Can you live?
We're not allowed to question. We're not allowed to think about that.
Why not? But see, that as soon as you tell me I'm not allowed to think about that, that's all I want. Like Penny Kelly,
yes,
talking
right?
about how if you actually knew what was in peanut butter, and I thought, really, it was bad enough with hot dogs and sausages, and now she's got to kill peanut butter for me. Now all I want is peanut butter. Darn it, Kelly! No, where's the parasite cleanse? That's the next thing. Like, whoa, wow, that lady. If you want to go literally check yourself, like everybody should get a parasite cleanse, because you have no idea all the squiggly wigglies that live in us. Oh, I don't even, but like I want to, and hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah. my story, that's what my story, Letters from a Dead World, is about.
About a parasite cleanse for LIANE?
No, but it's about parasites
that live inside us.
Squiggly wigglies that live inside us and control our minds. Yes.
Maybe you're writing, parallel versions of what they're actually doing with radio frequency chips. I mean, there's that show on Netflix called 0 Day. And if you really want to be a good conspiracy theorist, you're going to go with Hollywood as a tool, and all the stories that come from everybody's imaginations are, some people get to make dents and make space, but not lots of it, because you got to stick to the formula. Like, why is that? Like, you just start asking questions. So as Hollywood's definitely could be seen very easily as a tool for plausible deniability, so that if and when disclosure is fully, we're on the back end of disclosure, and whatever they're willing to reveal coming out to the public, if they ever do that for real, and it's not just another psyop. Like, it just, when people understand quantum mechanics and how that works, shows like 0 Day will become the new CNN. It's like, that's how they did it. Oh, go watch the movie here. The technology they used in that movie, that's what they did to so-and-so in the 1990s. Like, yeah. It's like, why do we just get stuck with fiber optics and FaceTime? And these guys are getting to LA and back in 40 minutes. I don't get it. I want to be a good conspiracy theorist. Ask those questions. Too much for you, David?
No, not at all. Not too much for me. No, I've gone very deep down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes. All sorts of them.
Cornhole.
No, I know that like I know that something's going on. Something's going on. Okay. I have very strong opinions on what's going on. However, I like to be careful about jumping on bandwagons. Right.
Too many people do that.
I'm not going to jump on the Hollywood's a tool of this. It might be, and there's some pretty good evidence for it, but I don't
Not
know.
all of it. Not
don't
all
know.
of it. I'll say that there are probably, if you were to find out everything, that there's a certain amount of finagling, or I don't know. If the people at the money level, like if it goes black, I don't know. I just know what I feel like is happening, and I feel like there's room for people to be artists, like people who go in and audition for guest stars and co-star roles and co-starring roles in movies, and they're on Broadway. People who aren't like P. Diddy famous, not to bring up somebody who's maybe not the most fun guy. But it's like that side of Hollywood. It's not what the regular 9-to-5 middle class Hollywood actor deals with. We're part of the machine who's not informed about what goes on behind the scenes at those parties. Like, I don't know what the fuck they do there. Going home and taking care of my baby. 2 of them, and then 3 of them. I don't care.
No.
So my mother would call the Los Angeles Hollywood bullshit. But what's laced through the bullshit, what's laced through the TV shows, when it's fact that Spielberg's aunt or whatever lifted some files, like I don't think that's BS. Jack Valet and these people who won't talk, who can only say so much, they know something. Like what? Come on. Hal Puthoff's not insane. I had some idiot, because I do make lots of comments on the Ross Coulthart videos, say that remote viewing was a scam. So instead of getting into it, I fired, probably ignoring would have been the best, but I really don't. I'm at the point where I don't give a flying fornication what the fornication you think, because I know what I know. I've seen what I've seen. I've experienced what I've experienced, and nobody's going to tell me that psionics are a scam, or that remote viewing, which is misnamed. I think it's more like remote feeling, which is why I know that information is non-local. So if you can get into the nothing space and get rid of all of your conditioning, which some people are able to do more easily than others, slip in and out of meditation, slip in and out of character, whatever that is that allows you to be loose in your belief system and check one belief system and exchange it for another briefly and then come back without being, medically schizophrenic.
Well,
and,
I take I look at it like there's different mindsets that people have, and so one is and the one that I make the effort to have is to be I know how I think about the world, how I see the world, what I believe. I know what my worldview is, and so that's where I stand. My flag is firmly in the ground there. This is how I see things, right? At the same time, I may not necessarily accept the other views, but I'm willing to hear them. I'm not gonna attack them. I'm just okay. So what's the other view, and then some people, they've put their flag in the sand of how they see things, and they don't want to hear anything else.
I was talking to my friend Randall yesterday, and he said that there's somebody with whom he, has great discussions, but they're kind of like that, and it's really no use trying to offer another point. You just sort of have to allow them to do that. I mean, until they have an experience that informs them differently, if that happens, which it
And
may.
then you have some people who they don't take any stand at all. They just and if you bring like and if you talk about how so if you talk about something that you are convinced of or strongly persuaded of, they'll just filter it right out. It's just noise to them, right? And so and so when I'm dealing with somebody who is set in their ways, I approach them by saying, well, here's just like, here's a way to look at it. I'm not telling them that it's the way, I'm just saying, here's a way to look at something.
It's
and they're not threatened. Then they're not threatened. I'm not challenging their little territory, right?
Well,
And
which can be a very deep running, large territory that is huge under the surface, but tiny, like to your eyes.
Yeah. And and so it doesn't make them feel threatened. And then people that are just total relativists, like, wait, man, I don't believe in anything. A very similar approach. And I think that with people who are very hard nosed is to be like first to show that, like, okay, yeah, I get where you're coming from. I respect your point of view. Like, they kind of need that, right? And then here's another way to look at it. Then say, I'm not saying it's the way. I'm just saying it's a way to look at it. And then some people that are relativists, if you come on intensely with something you're passionate about, they said they don't want to know. They just kind of want to not take a stand about anything. So the same approach works. Just, well, here's one way to look at it. Here's a way to look at it, and that helps, like, sort of
Disarm,
disarm,
yeah,
and get the ideas across.
Right, because people's egos get threatened. I mean, this is why people like Stephen Greer say things like, coming out and telling everybody everything all at once is going to cause an existential crisis. Like, people can't handle all of it all at once, but like little by little by little, which is what I think is happening. But there's a whole transhumanist issue thing going on too, this Neuralink and the whole Ray Kurzweil ideology. There are a lot of people who, because they're not the type to kick and make dents and make space, it's just easier to conform. It's just, yeah, I know all of that, but it's just easier to stay in line. Like, okay, you want to get chipped? We'll have everything all in one place. Really? Yeah, you'll have instant access to the internet, like, just by thinking. Really? Is it dangerous? Nope, we've tested it on. Really? You mean so I can just shop with my thoughts? Like, I'm going to be psychic with the internet? Like, how much does that cost?
Yeah.
People are going to get like, ooh.
Yeah.
And there you go. You're not a human being anymore. Not what came out of your mom's patuta. Like, you're now a next generation human reboot.
Yeah, and I would strongly advise against society moving in that direction.
Well, but like, think about it. Like, people, I don't think that through. And I know this sounds maybe completely wacky, but like, let's say 2 generations down, let's say somebody who's of childbearing age decides they want to get chipped or whatever it is, and then they have a baby. Well, like in the sentient world, it's fact that mothers, when you're in your mom's tummy, you're passing information along. You're already basically a sentient quantum computer. Like we are that. We are the technology. So now having, like, it's eisegesis. That's not a good idea. Did I get that right?
Exegesis
Exegesis. It's
is
exegesis.
when
It's
you're
outside.
drawing from.
Oh no. Okay. Right. So
Eisegesis is when you're imposing upon. Yeah.
right. So it's eisegesis, being imposed. Like that's all I see from AI right now. It's an imposition into sentience, and buying into, which is what they count on, they that like to control us with commercials and telling us you're not okay, and things go better with Coke, right?
I'm actually
I know.
having a Coke right now.
Maybe that's why I said that. I had some insider information.
Hey,
Used it. Oh,
were you remote viewing?
yeah. No. But I mean, I can't take away the experiences I've had. I heard somebody say something in this weird half sleep place and then was just like, wow, wouldn't that be fun? And like, snapped out of it, had some coffee, went to the event. And sure enough, man, word for word, this dude said exactly what I heard in my weird sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So, when dead people start talking to you.
Well, there are a lot of experiences you and I could discuss that I've had. I don't think they're things I'd like to talk about live, but I'll definitely
Okay.
I will definitely talk about you with them afterward.
Sure, that'll be your next book, and we won't know.
Oh, I code the experiences in my stories.
I'm sure you do.
They're there, and if you know, you're like, I know, right?
Well, so like, that let's talk about spider seeds, because you didn't get to do your show last night. So let's stop talking about all the stuff that I like talking about ad nauseum. Everybody gag now. No, don't.
That
Spider
would have been a great scene in Girlfriend from Hell.
I make a really good cat puke. ASMR, man. I have a career in ASMR, I think, with cat puke sounds. What do you think?
I don't know how marketable that would be.
Maybe it could be like, it probably wouldn't be as fly and workable as 10-day-old underwear in a little plastic bag for men who go to the little machine and pay $8 million for that. This is why aliens don't come say hi, open contact. And this is why they come to people through consciousness and make us all look crazy when we talk about it. That's just way easier for everybody than dealing with these crazy people who want to get married to AI. But that's really, I did it again. Like you said, you draw from experience, like, and these experiences that you don't want to discuss live, but will discuss with me. Like, after the fact, you had a nightmare once.
Yeah, you narrated my my afterward there.
Your nightmare. I narrated your nightmare.
You did.
Now you want me to star in your nightmare. But, tell us about that. Tell us about that dream. Let me put my glasses back on. Put my hair up. I won't charge you for the 50-minute hour. It's free.
I had a random dream, and the thing is, I'm a very imaginative person. Like I can, like there's a scientific word for this, and I don't know what it is. I'll have to look it up. Hey,
it's special for you. I took it out for Clive.
Just a little telejanka, just
Right. And I like mispronounced the thing for the whole freaking book, saying
It's okay. You know what? We can finesse that, and I'll have it like so. There's
Is it dumb
basically,
blonde? See her the roots? See?
yeah.
Dumb. We went through all the pronunciations and I still managed to do some
It's
ADHD.
no, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I just think that you know how in different cultures, how even in all cultures, there's certain words that that people in that culture pronounce two different ways. You just be like, you just do something like that. It's not a big
When
deal.
people say nuclear and refuse to say nuclear, even though it's spelled
Exactly. Potato, tomato, tomato. Like you know, it's like,
telejanka, telehanka, telejashashashasha.
yeah, here you go. Right. It's just be like, you know, there can be room for that flexibility. I don't like to be too much of a control freak, you know.
No, but I actually do and want to try to like do you justice and say the thing correctly, you know, and
You did do the book justice. You did amazing.
well,
And
but we also have to consider Canadian pronunciation, and spelling, and like Ross Coulthart does this all the time. He says they're
yeah.
twigging our consciousness when I think he means tweaking. Right. And so I actually heard somebody say something about the Wanda Fuca straight, and I was like, no, it's Fuca.
We had this conversation before.
Once,
Once.
7 times.
Yeah.
And yet it's still Telehanka.
And it's funny. I had a nightmare. It was about 2015. And I woke up and I felt just that cold, sinking fear. And it was just, I watched all these plants grow in time-lapse speed, right? And they sprouted spiders. And it literally, I remember just thinking, that's a really disturbing image I dreamt of. I need a story to wrap that around. And that was 10 years ago. And so within the last few years, I decided to, you know, just look for a plot structure to hang the idea on. And I used the basic monster in the house story, you know, framework. You have a main character in an enclosed space, and they are trying to defend themselves against some form of monster. And it's a plot that's been reused and reused time and time again. But I had a few ideas of what I thought would make it I guess fresh. You know, told from a new perspective, right? Which I think is basically all a writer can really do. All a writer can really do is there are no new stories to tell. We can just tell the same story in a new way from told from our perspective. I think it was David Lynch. David Lynch had a great way of putting it, and he said, "Yes, all the stories have been told before, but they haven't been told by you." And that stayed with me. One of the things like I found about the difference between being a young kid and loving books and loving movies, and then actually getting in, and then actually becoming an author and getting involved in film and things like that. There's this shift that happens, and I don't know if you've experienced it, LIANE, because I mean you grew up in the world. So I guess you kind of I have this I like perhaps like you've always seen behind the curtain, and then
Yeah. Like
yeah,
as far as entertainment is concerned, my dad was like post synchronization. I was dubbing studio, so I always saw like what happens in post um in my childhood, and then on camera stuff like from my teenage years, and then now I can just do whatever I feel like because I don't need permission from anybody but me. So yeah,
yeah,
I get it. But yeah, it's definitely from the inside, not the outside.
yeah, and for me, what I found is that wait a sec, studying world literature was like we go from Epic of Gilgamesh, we go to the Odyssey, we go to the Iliad, we go to we get to Beowulf, early English literature. We study all these great pieces of classic world literature. It's all the same story. The same story being told again and again and again and again. And
That mini skirt.
the miniskirt keeps coming back. And at first, it's disappointing. And the pattern recognition, it's disappointing. It's disillusioning. I found it to be very disillusioning.
I guess it's like when you see a magic trick and then, they break the rule and break it down and show you, and you're just like, wait, what?
That's all it was.
I know the tech, right. It's knowing that what's technical behind the perceived magic from the consumer side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like finding out the Easter bunny is not, or the tooth fairy is not real.
There's no Santa Claus. If you want Christmas to happen, you got to make it happen yourself.
Well, there you go.
and so
yeah, like.
But and so I had to go through, I guess, a lot of like asking myself again, well, why am I doing this?
Because the spider made you do it. You could be like David Berkowitz and insist that the spider,
the spider made me do
spider
it.
made me do it, right? Wasn't it? The dog was making David Berkowitz do it, wasn't he? Back
I think so. Well, at least the spider makes me do good things, like write stories and such, right?
Right, that turns into like a two-title job for me, producer and starring in. If we can, figure it out. Anybody out there want to be an executive producer? Hit me up on the Facebook messages. I've got a way to make that happen for you. It involves you giving me money. So I can give it to my friend.
Isn't that not the way it always works?
Yeah. Yep. But you'll see where the money goes. And supposedly, if my friend is correct, he's also the one who's writing the script. $250,000 budget is what we're aiming to do. $2,500 gets the script written, plus a couple revisions and returned. Or you can leave it in the budget and be a producer. There you go. Fun, right? So where can people find you, Mr. I take my nightmares and turn them into your entertainment?
Yeah. Where can I be found? I can be found at davidtocher.com. DAVIDTOCHER.com. And that's where I keep all the information about my books. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I'm on Facebook. I'm really easy to find. I have a professional account. Just enter my name, David Tocher, and I'm Facebook friends with Leanne, so I mean, you'll probably see my name pop up and liking her posts and that. You can just add me if you wish. People can add me if they wish, right?
Yes, they can.
And yeah, basically, my horror writing is all centered around writing out my nightmares. I mean, I watched Dawn of the Dead when I was a kid, 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. And I know, and no disrespect to Romero or Savini, right? But it's a pretty cheeseball movie.
David, I can smell your brain and I'm hungry.
Okay, no, that's Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, but it's still the same people.
Yes, it was got it right here actually.
Uh-oh. It looks like my bird's got your shirt. I wanted to stick my finger in there so bad.
Johnny Russo. He was Romero's I think co-writer. Yeah, John A. Russo, and John A. Russo, I believe he wrote the original script for Return of the Living Dead, but it went through the Hollywood machine and ended up going to Dan O'Bannon, and he ended up being the one writing the screenplay, and it's a great story, John Russo released Return of the Living Dead, a novel, and he's a very good writer. He's a very good author. The thing is, when I watched Dawn of the Dead, Romero's film, I was 13 and it really disturbed me. And you know what the thing was? It really, really got under my skin and disturbed me. And I watched it in my early 30s. I didn't have the courage to watch it. I watched it and then I just laughed. And I realized, it's a pretty silly movie. But the thing was, it was, I guess, I had this, just everything was abandoned. Malls were abandoned. Houses were abandoned. Empty streets. And nothing is safe. And I guess subconsciously, that just got to me. That liminal space thing that's a trend now,
Yeah, man, I'm sure. And then when COVID happened, that probably just triggered everything all over again.
Right. But it really got into my, and I had zombie. I had every once in a while I had some random zombie nightmare, and so I even ended up writing a zombie story, but it was based on a nightmare I had. And so yeah, I got a lot of my stories are just based on nightmares. I just find a way to wrap a plot around it.
It probably saves you thousands on therapy.
It does. It does. And I've had spider phobia for years. So you know what happens? Doing the research on spiders for
spiders. You should get a jumping spider. If there's ever a jumping spider up there in your window, play with it. They're so friendly. They don't bite. They're a lot of fun. They're really cute.
Cute little guys.
They are.
I actually let a spider. There was a spider in my living room, and it was like it wasn't huge, but it was big. And I let it build his web near my lamp, and I just thought, you know what? I know you don't mean me any harm. You just want to live a happy little spider life on your web and eat some bugs.
We're just sharing some space. It's not a thing. Like I know this is crazy. I'm actually considering, I don't know how to do this. Let's see. Let's see if it's in my photos. It may not be. Yes, it is. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Image, file, photos. I don't know. Can you see Kitty? Oh,
that's a very cute cat.
Well, he's at the pound. Somebody left him in the park in a carrier, and he's been at the pound for 4 days.
Are you going to adopt him, LIANE?
You know, my bestie Mia, I texted her. I said, there's a Miggy. That's what we call kitties, Miggies. I said, there's a Miggy. I need to go get it. Really, I don't, but I need to go get it. Yeti. They've called it Yeti. You know, so I feel like he's feline HIV positive and has medical issues, but you know, I don't know if that's something that's permanent, ongoing, and drain money-wise, or if it's something that is temporary due to his situation, you know, because I know feline HIV positive cats can live for a while until it
Yeah.
gets to the point where you just have to really watch secondary infections, because that's where it goes sideways with them, because
Yeah.
they're immune compromised.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm a messy gal, but anybody who knows me, I'm pretty clean, you know, like bird poop. I know what they eat and I clean it up pretty quickly, but I don't like street dirt in my house. Like that, he's not going to be exposed to that. So maybe I'm going to the pound tomorrow to go see this kitty and see what's up. Look at that face. Like those eyes. I know there's just, I don't know.
Those are Tommy Lee Jones eyes.
Uh-oh.
Looking at you over a newspaper.
Well, as long as I don't have to, you know, get reprimanded by getting smacked on the nose with a newspaper, we'll be okay. I've never heard of a cat smacking a human on the nose with a newspaper. Have you?
No, they use their paws. Much more effective.
Well, you know, I've got padding. I can always hold up my Rasta braids.
If you're fast enough.
Probably not. Kitties are fast.
They're fast.
I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe next week there'll be a kitty here. Maybe not. David, they can go find spider seeds on Audible, can't they?
They can. And you know what?
What?
It's narrated by LIANE Curtis.
Who?
LIANE Curtis. Her.
But it's written by him.
And it's written by me.
Will the real David Tocher please stand up?
Oh, do I have to stand? I'm real comfy right now.
You're probably just because he doesn't want to do it because he's probably wearing boxers. Because, you know, welcome to 2025 Zoom from the belly button.
You are going to really.
Oh,
I'm wearing jeans. I'm wearing jeans.
Sure.
I'm wearing gray jeans.
AI. Okay. Here.
Yeah. Earth tone jeans.
No boxers here.
Yeah. No boxers.
No boxers here.
You know. And LIANE Curtis did an amazing job narrating this book.
Thank you.
I cannot you know, say enough how happy I am with the work you did on my book. I like the effect it had on me listening to your narration of Spider Seeds is that I got to experience my story from the perspective of the audience, which is something I've never experienced before, because when you interpreted the characters in ways I had not even thought of, and you gave them the emotion, the intention, through your acting and your vocal narration, I caught myself feeling sorry for Maddie when what's his name there? I forget the name of the character I created.
What's his name?
What's his name? His name is Corey Teague. Yes. Corey Teague. And Corey Teague, is like, you want a hug? You okay? And she's like trying to hold back her tears. And I'm going like, oh, poor Maddie. I'm going, wait a sec, I wrote this. I wrote it.
That's good. Like I'm glad that I did it justice, and it only means that it was well written, because if it was crappy writing, you wouldn't, you can't do any, I mean, you can try, but it's really hard. Like bad dialogues, nobody talks like that. That's not good. It's just, it's more difficult to work with. So likewise, you were easy to work with, and your words were easily interpreted out my pie hole. You know, I hope I cut out enough.
That
I
is
hope
so
I cut out enough
glamorous.
mouth noises. I'm a very mouth noisy kind of recording guy. So
Just to, like, you know, make it clear for anyone watching, there was no cat. There is no cat, you know, upchucking impersonations on my audiobook. That just so you know,
that's only
none of that went on.
it's because I
Right?
was going to tell
That was just a Leannigan
no, he's cheap.
happening on the podcast.
He's cheap. He didn't want to pay extra for the cat vomit.
Yeah, it costs extra for the Leanne's cat vomit impersonation. And Leanne, Corey Teague, I wrote about him too, in another story.
But you know what? That's interesting. But what I was going to say is when you now after the fact, of course, it's always after the fact. The way how did you left me a voice memo and you said, I love how you had Corey say this. And then you said it like the character. And I thought, that's actually pretty good. Maybe he should read Corey is what I'm thinking now. It's too bad I didn't make you read Corey.
I would
have made it more complicated, but
it would have made it complicated, you know, and
a nice idea.
And I think you did a fantastic job bringing Corey to life the way you did, you know.
I've always wanted to play a man.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and through narration, and we can do those things. I mean, it's like, I mean, I wrote Maddie. Maddie's a woman.
Look,
you know,
you have to be able
so I had to get into the head of it. I had to get into the female, you know, mind, you know, for a while there, you know.
This is why it's good to have a flexible mind so that you can float around. Like, it's fun to be different people. I mean, as long as you're not like that Abigail guy, just, you know, running away with catch me if you can, cash and checks kind of shit.
Yeah.
But, you know,
there's ethical ways to become.
There are ethical ways.
Yeah.
There you go. Not like at a deep underground military base. All right. Go check out audiobook on Audible, Spider Seeds. You can get it if you're a member for your credit, or you can buy it if you're not a member, if you feel like it, or if you do your trial at Audible. I think you could probably, I shouldn't say these things, should I? But I'm gonna. You could do your free trial, check out the book, and then dump Audible if you don't want to do audiobooks.
And did you get those? Did you get those promo codes?
I did get promo codes. You know.
So, you know, you hit up Leanne or me, and if you're in the UK or in Canada, out in UK or the USA, that's the only places they're good for. England, the UK, and the United States. Just ask Leanne or myself, and we can give you a promo code for a free listen in exchange for an honest review. In exchange for your honest review, and that just helps with visibility and helps readers, you know, find the book and decide to give it a listen, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, do you have your copy of Spider Seeds on hand nearby? Because I sold all mine. I don't have one to show off to the camera.
You know, because you were so organized and figured out why it was a good idea for people to get codes from us in exchange for something, I will do this.
Aw, thank you, Lee. You even saved the envelope I sent.
Shh, don't tell David.
Hey, that's got my address on it. Don't let anyone see.
No, it's the side. It says 2 signed book plates.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that.
Side. It doesn't say sealed with a kiss, though, so that's okay. I don't.
I'll do that with the next envelope.
Well, you know, and then maybe I'll get a temporary restraining order. No, I won't. Look, see what you got. This is what a book insert is. I didn't know what it was, but it's a pre-signed sticker that you can put in, and it's like colored. It's the right color. It blends in with the page. The whole thing. So well done. So professional. And I've got an extra one for the next book that comes in case it comes directly from the publisher and he can't physically sign it before it comes this way. So.
And so I'll be sending you She Who Hunts in the next little bit. It's already out, by the way. She Who Hunts is already out. And it has illustrations with Andrea Acosta. She did the illustrations, and this is what takes place with my fictional tribe of the Gitlu people, and how they
prequel, basically the sequel is a prequel.
Is this? Yeah. I don't know if a sequel is a prequel. You know, that might be a thing in like if we were really to get to brass tacks of relativity and all that, maybe. Yeah,
it's quantum mechanics in the
like that, you know, or as John Carpenter's film The Prince of Darkness, where he says everything breaks down at a subatomic level, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Some things you probably should bury before it starts smelling bad.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's why I have a big chest freezer. No, I don't. Maybe I do.
Yeah. I love how our conversations can take side turns and left turns and overpasses and underpasses, and yes. You don't want me to sing Goodbye to Romance, do you? Is that why you're doing the cigarette lighter? We're gonna do one of Ozzy's soft songs.
Listen, you know what? Last week I tried to perform live and it was an absolute disaster. So we're not doing that again ever.
What you mean? You're recording on?
No, the one I did on YouTube was to make up for what happened live, which I deleted. I've never deleted a live.
Oh,
but I deleted it.
It happens. But you know what?
No, it didn't. I deleted it. So that technically it
never happened
because it's deleted. At least on my channel,
I can't even remember what you deleted. Right?
Ask him.
Yeah, he'll tell you.
He'll tell you.
Yeah,
Well, so go hit one of us up. We've got codes. If you've got reviews.
Honest reviews.
Honest reviews.
Yes.
And have a good week. And if you want to hear us talk more for another 2 hours.
It looks like an hour and 12 minutes here.
Oh, yeah, but there's the other one.
There's the other one tonight, yes.
Like an hour and 49 minutes. So
that was a good shot we had.
Don't feel obliged. You can give us a break. You might need a break from the both of us for a minute, but look forward to my interview with Tom Dongo. Please go through any of my other pre-recorded videos. Some of them are cool. Some of them I talk too much, but hey, I just want to know, pardon the French, what the fuck is going on? So I have conversations with people like I would in my living room, and I interrupt them like I would in my living room. And I try not to, for the sake of your patience and not taking advantage of your good nature. So there you go. Circle back, find him, find me, subscribe, like, whatever it is you're supposed to do. Hit the bell. Don't hit anybody. Just hit the bell. It's not violent. Thank you. Dun, 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 dun. Keep riding the frequency, you guys. And remember, you're the awareness. See you next time.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Frequency.
I'm LIANE. Are you ready to
Frequency?